He was always there, in the shadows, listening, whispering, pulling strings no one else could see. Varys, the spider, the ultimate servant of the realm. But which realm exactly? He says he serves the people. He says he wants peace. But what if none of it was true? What if Varys wasn't just a spy master, but the loyal son of a forgotten cause? What if everything he did was to bring back not a Targaryen, but a Blackfyre? What if Varys was a Blackfyre? To understand Varys, you must first understand the dragon he serves. Not the red one, the black one. Because long before Jon Snow, long before Daenerys Targaryen, there was another line of dragons, born in blood, forged in betrayal. Their name? Blackfyre. Before we dive into the creation of the Blackfyres, take a second to subscribe and hit the bell. It helps us bring you more epic content. Thanks for the support. Now let's get into it. It all begins more than a century before Game of Thrones, during the reign of the most disastrous king in Targaryen history, Aegon IV, known as Aegon the Unworthy. He ruled from 172 AC to 184 AC, and left behind a legacy of fire, lust, and treason. Aegon was everything a king should not be: lazy, gluttonous, vindictive. He surrounded himself with flatterers and fools, and worst of all, he couldn't keep his hands off anyone, noble or small folk, married or not. He fathered more bastards than any monarch before or after him. And these weren't just nameless children scattered in brothels. Some were raised in court, some were trained as warriors, and some were dangerous. Here are the ones who mattered. Daemon Waters, his most beloved bastard. Tall, handsome, charismatic, and the son of Princess Daena Targaryen, Aegon's own cousin. Daena was bold, beautiful, and wild, and Aegon adored her more than any of his mistresses. Daemon grew up at court, beloved by lords and knights alike. He was everything a prince should be, except for one thing: he was illegitimate. Aegor Rivers, called Bitter Steel, the fierce and hot-blooded son of a Riverlands noblewoman from House Bracken. He was a skilled warrior, proud and unrelenting. He believed Daemon should be king, and would one day kill and die for that belief. Brynden Rivers, known as Blood Raven, pale, thin, and terrifyingly clever. Born with one red eye and rumored to practice sorcery, he would one day become Hand of the King, and then the Three-Eyed Crow. Shiera Seastar, the most beautiful woman of her generation, lover to both Bitter Steel and Blood Raven. Brilliant, manipulative, and rumored to dabble in dark arts. Her eyes were mismatched, one blue, one green, and her presence alone could unmake alliances. Together, these half-siblings formed the storm beneath the surface, a boiling pit of love, jealousy, ambition, and prophecy, waiting to explode. And then, the king died, but not before lighting the match. On his deathbed, Aegon IV did the unthinkable. He legitimized every single one of his bastards. He turned a political nightmare into a succession apocalypse. Only one man was strong enough, popular enough, and loved enough to take advantage of the chaos: Daemon Waters. He didn't ask for power, but the realm whispered his name. And when Aegon gave him the Valyrian steel sword Blackfyre, the ancient weapon of kings, it wasn't just a gift. it was a signal. By giving Daemon the sword instead of his true-born son Daeron, Aegon split the realm in two. Daemon took a new name, Blackfyre, and with it, he declared war on the crown. Thus began the first Blackfyre rebellion around 196 AC, just over a century before the events of Game of Thrones. It tore the realm apart. Houses were divided. Brothers fought brothers. The Targaryens wore red, but their enemies wore black. Daemon was eventually slain at the Battle of the Redgrass Field, along with 2 of his sons. But the war did not end, because bitter steel took the youngest Blackfyres across the sea, and there, in exile, he founded the most dangerous army Westeros had ever known, the Golden Company. Not just mercenaries, exiles, dreamers, true believers. Their motto? Beneath the gold, the bitter steel. Rebellion followed rebellion. Each one bled the realm further. Until the last. Malus the Monstrous, a twisted brute with a second head growing from his neck, led the 5th Blackfyre Rebellion less than 40 years before Game of Thrones. He died at the hands of Sir Barristan Selmy in the War of the Ninepenny Kings. The Blackfyres were declared extinct, the sword lost, the threat buried. Or so it seemed. But dragon blood is stubborn. The Blackfyres had Valyrian blood, the kind that dreams, that burns, that breaks the world. And blood like that doesn't just disappear. So what if they didn't die? What if they went underground? What if they waited, hidden, across the sea, in places like Lys, where a young boy named Varys was once sold to a sorcerer? What if his blood wasn't just lowborn? What if it was black? And what if everything he's done since, the whispers, the schemes, the betrayals, wasn't to serve peace, but to bring back a dragon long thought dead? Once upon a time, somewhere beyond the narrow sea, there was a young boy with silver hair tainted in blue and purple eyes. Handsome, intelligent, charismatic. He spoke several languages, knew the history of the 7 kingdoms better than most maesters, and wielded a sword with grace. A prince, a king in waiting. His name? Young Griff. But in whispers, in the shadows, another name followed him. Aegon Targaryen, the lost son of Rhaegar, the baby everyone believed was smashed against the wall by the mountain alongside his mother, Aelia Martell. And yet, Varys claims he saved him, swapped for another child, smuggled away, raised in secret by Jon Connington, Rhaegar's loyal friend and former hand of the king. A perfect story. Too perfect. Let's look closer. Young Griff didn't just survive. He was sculpted. Everything about him feels deliberate. His manners, his measured answers, his carefully calibrated humility, even his ability to command a room like he was born for it. And more than that, he appears at the exact moment Westeros is broken. After decades of war, betrayal, and madness, the realm is desperate. Desperate for a miracle, for a noble king trained in peace and war, ready to restore order. And who delivers that miracle? Varys. But some aren't so easily fooled. Even Jon Connington, the man who raised him, has doubts. He admits it plainly.
There are times I look at him and I see Elia, but other times I wonder.
And the most damning clue isn't what Young Griff says. It's who follows him. The Golden Company, the most disciplined, fearsome sellsword army in the world. Founded by the Blackfyres, the bastard Targaryens who once tried to seize the Iron Throne. For over a century, they refused to support the Targaryens of Dragonstone. They didn't rally to Viserys. They didn't follow Daenerys. But for this boy, they break their contract. They cross the sea. They prepare for war. That is not loyalty. That is a mission fulfilled. Their swords point not toward fire, but toward the Black Dragon. So here's the real question. What if this prince isn't a Targaryen at all, but a Blackfyre? The last weapon of a fallen house, raised to look like a savior, trained to act like a king, crafted, not born. He has the look, he has the blood, he has the army, and he has the perfect story. But it's all a performance. A fairy tale for a war-torn kingdom desperate to believe in a happy ending. A fairy tale written by Varys. Because if Young Griff is the star of the show, Varys is the playwright. And the final act is about to begin. But what does Varys really want? Why go this far? Why kill, lie, betray for this boy? What if the answer is far more personal than we ever imagined? It's time to step behind the curtain and uncover the final truth the spider has kept hidden.
Peace, stability, a just king.
That's what Varys says he wants. But when Kevan Lannister finally brings order to King's Landing, when Pycelle starts restoring some kind of balance to the realm, Varys has them both killed. Pycelle dies first, torn apart by Varys' little birds, and Kevan is shot with a crossbow in his chambers. And as Kevan lies bleeding out, gasping his final breaths, the spider steps into the room. Calm, clean, controlled. He kneels beside the dying man and delivers the truth.
You were not the cause, my lord. You were only a symptom. And for the good of the realm, you had to be removed before you could begin to heal it.
Then comes the coldest line of all.
You would have been a good regent, Sir Kevan. But you were doing too good a job. The realm was beginning to heal. And that was not what I needed.
Not what he needed. He doesn't want peace. He wants collapse. He wants a kingdom broken enough to welcome a savior. His savior. Then Varys speaks his final truth.
This is no longer a game for two players. When Aegon takes the throne, he will need loyal men.
It's not a Game of Thrones anymore. It's a checkmate. He's not serving stability. He's preparing a takeover. Months before Varys killed Kevan Lannister and Pycelle, Tywin Lannister died. Killed by his own son, a crossbow bolt to the belly on the privy. The lion had fallen, and in the shadows beneath the Red Keep, the true master of the game smiled. Varys was waiting. In the darkness of the tunnels, beneath the city soaked in blood and secrets, Tyrion Lannister stumbled forward, half-crazed, reeling from patricide, betrayal, and loss. And Varys was exactly where he needed to be, waiting, calm, ready. The chaos? That was his.
My father's dead. Cersei will want my head. Jaime, gods, I don't even know anymore. What now, Varys? What game are we playing this time?
The same game we've always played, my lord. The Game of Thrones.
And what throne is left to win? The one my sister's poisoning? Or the one Daenerys plans to burn?
Perhaps it's time for a new player.
He took him to a ship, under cover of darkness. Tyrion believed he was running, escaping. But Varys had a destination in mind. Not Daenerys, not the Dragon Queen. A prince, young, sharp, royal. Weeks later, in the disputed lands of Essos, Tyrion met him. A boy with silver hair dyed in blue and amethyst eyes, who carried himself with the easy grace of someone born to command. They called him Young Griff. He sparred with swordmasters, spoke a Westerosi history with a scholar's tongue. He knew the words of every major house and the names of every lord. He spoke of duty, of legacy, of justice, of taking back the throne that was stolen from his father Rhaegar. But Tyrion didn't believe it.
He's too perfect, too polished. Aegon Targaryen was a baby when he died, smashed against a wall by the mountain. Or so we were told. And now you bring me a boy. Alive, trained, rehearsed. I've seen plays with less staging than this.
I bring you hope. The realm needs something better than lions and dragons tearing it apart.
No. You bring me a puppet with dragon eyes, and the hand up his back is yours.
Does it matter if the people believe him?
Tyrion watched the boy from a distance. He laughed with John Connington. He fought with precision. He spoke like a king. And Tyrion felt a chill he couldn't shake. Was this boy a savior? Or was he a weapon, forged in the quiet vengeance of the Blackfyres? Either way, Varys believed in him. And when the spider believes in something, the world tends to follow. The camp was quiet. Night had fallen over the riverlands of Essos, and the only sounds were the murmurs of men and the crackling of fire. Tyrion sat alone, cup in hand, watching the flames dance. His scars caught the light, as did his eyes, always watching, always thinking. And then, young Griff sat beside him. No guards, no ceremony, just a boy in a prince's skin, curious to know the man who had once ruled the realm with words sharper than steel.
They say you once stood at the Hand's chair, that you were feared by lords twice your size.
Feared? Hardly. Distrusted? Certainly. Respected? Only by the whores I paid extra for it.
You don't believe in me, do you?
Does it matter what I believe?
It does to me.
All right then. No, I don't. The real Aegon died in a pool of blood beneath the Red Keep. You? You were raised in a silk tent with tutors and sword masters. You speak like a book and fight like a pageant knight.
And yet, I am ready. Whether I'm Aegon or not. The people don't need my name. They need peace, and I will give it to them.
Tyrion stared into the fire. He hated how composed the boy was, how deliberate. It was like watching a ghost of Rhaegar, but younger, clearer, unburdened by prophecy.
The realm doesn't need a dreamer. It needs a ruler. Someone who can outthink lions and outbleed dragons.
Then I'll be both. I'll earn my crown, not with fire, but with justice.
Justice is a sword with no hilt. Once you draw it, you bleed with everyone else.
And then, silence. Long, heavy, honest.
You know what the cruelest part is?
What?
I know you might be a lie. A beautiful, crafted, perfect lie. And I still think you'd make a better king than any of the fools who were born to it. Blackfyre, Targaryen, it doesn't matter. The realm doesn't need truth. It needs someone who gives a damn.
The boy said nothing. but his eyes burned. Not with anger, not with pride, with something rarer. Resolve. The wine was sweet, the fire crackled low in the hearth. The windows of the manse in Pentos were closed tight, but the night air still carried a whisper of salt and dust. Varys stood by the flames, cloaked in silence. Across from him, lounging with the grace of a man too rich to care, sat Illyrio Mopatis, fingers heavy with rings, eyes gleaming with curiosity.
He said yes.
Tyrion?
He's agreed to advise the boy. He doesn't believe he's Aegon. Not truly. But he believes in what he could be.
That's more than enough. Tyrion Lannister is not a man to give his counsel lightly. Sarah would be proud if she could see him now.
The silence that followed was long, not empty, full of ghosts. In that silence lived a woman. Her name was Sarah. She had been born in exile, but carried the blood of dragons in her veins, a descendant of the Blackfyres, the exiled branch of House Targaryen, long thought extinct. She had been Varys' sister, and she had been Illyrio's beloved. Together, they had a child, a boy with silver hair and violet eyes, a boy forged not from prophecy, but from purpose, a boy raised not in luxury, but in preparation. Young Griff was not Ilya's son, not Rhaegar's heir. He was Sarah's, the last Blackfyre, reborn in secret and crowned in lies.
She would have scolded us first, said we were mad, reckless.
And then she would have helped us anyway.
He has her eyes, you know. The same fire when he speaks, the same tilt of the chin when he defends the weak.
And your mind. God's help him.
They both laughed, but it was not a joyful sound. It was tired, worn. A laugh between old friends bound by something unspoken.
Do you think he suspects?
Tyrion suspects everything. That's what makes him useful. But no, not yet. He sees a prince. That's enough for now.
Good. Let the realm argue about dragons and bloodlines. We know what matters.
We raised a king.
He believes it, you know, that he's Aegon.
He does. Every lesson, every story, every scar misshaped him. And now, he carries that name like armor.
Let's hope it protects him. Or that it's sharp enough to cut through a kingdom.
The flames flickered. Outside, the wind howled briefly against the shutters, then faded. Inside, two men sat in silence, holding the past between them like an old blade wrapped in silk. They never said her name again. They didn't have to. She was there, in every whispered plan, in every step of the boy's journey. The war room was dim. A single brazier crackled in the corner. A map of Westeros lay stretched across the table, corners pinned by daggers and goblets. Tyrion Lannister, Jon Connington, Illyrio Mopatis, Varys, Young Griff. 5 men, 5 visions of a future, and only one throne.
She has dragons, armies, and the name. If we join with her, we don't just take the throne, we command it.
A marriage would unite the old line and the new. Ice and fire reborn as the prophecy demands.
Ah, yes, prophecy. The same prophecy that led Rhaegar to abandon his wife and children. The same prophecy that burned Stannis' daughter. Let me ask you this. Have any of you actually read the reports out of Meereen?
They pause. Tyrion pours himself wine, but doesn't drink.
She's crucified hundreds, burned nobles alive, locked men in pits to die screaming. The dragon has awakened, and it's hungry.
She's fighting a war. Wars are not clean.
Neither is madness.
She was a girl when she started. She may have changed.
And what if she hasn't?
A silence. Then,
You want to be king? Then become one. Don't cling to her dragons like a babe to its mother's skirt. You're not her accessory. You're the realm's last hope. Win it. Don't inherit it.
Illyrio frowns. Connington scowls. Varys says nothing, but he watches the boy. And the boy speaks.
I dreamed of fighting beside her, of being her equal, her ally. But if what you say is true, I cannot follow a queen who burns those who defy her. The realm needs a just king, one who earns his crown. We go alone.
The room shifts. Connington bows his head in quiet respect. Illyrio exhales, long and slow. Varys smiles, just a little. And Tyrion, for the first time in weeks, raises his cup.
Now that sounded like a king.
The decision was made. There would be no alliance, no dragons, no Daenerys, only them. A prince, a sellsword army, a dream born in exile. They set sail under a pale dawn. 10,000 exiles, 10,000 oaths waiting to be fulfilled. The Golden Company had not broken a contract in 100 years, but for a Blackfyre, they broke everything. Each man hardened by exile, carrying not just steel, but vengeance. They had waited a century. Now they returned, not for gold, but for a crown. At the prow of the lead ship stood young Griff, wind in his silver hair, eyes fixed westward. By his side, Jon Connington, the last loyal friend of Rhaegar Targaryen. Their first target was simple: Griffin's Roost, the ancestral seat of House Connington, lost during Robert's Rebellion. Now it would be taken back by fire and steel. A banner of black and gold would rise again, not in secret, not in shame, but as the first sign of a king's return. Below deck in the captain's quarters, Varys stood alone over the map of Westeros. He traced the rivers with his fingers, the roads, the cities. He had served mad kings, watched monsters play with crowns, seen lords burn thousands to protect their pride. And through it all, he had whispered for this moment.
Not a butcher, not a conqueror, a king who will heal, a dragon with the mind to rule and the heart to serve.
He looked up. Toward the coast they would reach, toward the throne they would take, toward a realm that had forgotten what mercy looked like. And as the sails caught the wind, the Blackfyre returned to Westeros. So, was Varys truly serving the realm, or was he the last Blackfyre, guiding Westeros toward a hidden throne? Let me know in the comments. Is Varys a loyal spymaster or the dragon of a forgotten rebellion? If you enjoyed this dive into the shadows of Westeros, don't forget to like the video. It helps more than a whisper in the Red Keep. And subscribe to Dracarys Visions for more alternate histories, secret lineages, and the untold truths of George R.R. Martin's world.